The Swan Princess 1994 was one of my favourite childhood movies. The story is roughly based off the Swan Lake Ballet by Tchaikovsky, although the story differs quite a lot. As much as I love this movie and have loved it since I was a small child, rewatching it makes me wonder how much better it could have been. So I wanted to try and have a little rewrite and redesign for fun to see what I could come up with. Before I do that though, I'll give a very brief rundown of the movie. The story starts with Princess Odette being born as the new heir to her father, King William's kingdom. In celebration of her birth, they introduce Prince Derek and his mother, Queen Uberta. Prince Derek gives baby Odette a pendant necklace. Queen Uberta and King William decide that they want to put Odette and Derek in a kind of arranged marriage where they bring them together every summer in hopes that they'll fall in love. We're then introduced to our villain Rothbart, a sorcerer of the forbidden arts. They really don't go into Rothbart as a character very much. All you really need to know is 1, he's evil, and 2, he wants to take over William's kingdom. As he's about to attack the kingdom, he is arrested and his powers are plunged into darkness. He's then banished by King William, and by plunged into darkness, they just kind of run into his house and destroy all of his wizardy items. I guess his magic is very materials based, I suppose. Now we get to the best part of the movie, in my opinion, the This Is My Idea song. This part of the movie is kind of like when people talk about Disney Pixar's Up. They usually only remember or refer to the first 5 minutes where there's that montage of Carl and Ellie's life together. This is kind of like that for me. This Is My Idea shows Derek and Odette meeting again as small children and shows them clashing and not getting along at all, and then proceeds to show them visiting each other every summer from small children through to teens. It shows so much character in their rivalry. Like, these kids hate each other. It's so funny. Odette basically strangles Derek at one point in the background. I used to rewind this song on my VHS tape as a kid and rewatch it over and over. This was the main part of the movie for me, and it's just a really small part. And then it just kind of stops, and suddenly they're fully grown up, and just as suddenly they're in love with each other. Okay, we've run into my first major issue with this story. They never show Derek and Odette actually falling in love. They show their fun dynamic growing up, which is them basically hating each other, and then as soon as they're adults, it switches suddenly, and now they're in love and wish to get married right away. They skipped over the best part of the whole relationship in a catchy song montage, but I'll come back to this point in a bit. After announcing they are to be wed, Derek is stopped by Odette with a classic moment.
What? You're all I ever wanted. You're beautiful.
Thank you. But what else?
What else?
Is beauty all that matters to you?
What else is there?
After that, the wedding is off. Odette leaves with her father. God, I wish they went into her personality a bit more, and the dynamic with Derek, it's actually kind of frustrating. Who are you? We've seen Odette as a child and a teen being strong and somewhat of an aggressive kid. She has a lot of personality, but once she's an adult, they kind of strip her of that. Of course, there's a few moments where parts of her strong personality shine through, but they're quite rare. Rothbart attacks Odette and William on the road. William's captain manages to get to Derek and warn him about a great animal. Derek immediately runs to save Odette, but finds only William and his men injured and dying. King William also tells Derek about the great animal, and Odette is gone. Derek finds Odette's necklace in the wreckage. He also does a bit of a dramatic shout. Odette has been kidnapped by Rothbart and cursed to be a swan, but transforms back into a human when the moonlight hits her wings when she's in his lake. Basically, Rothbart has kidnapped Odette because he wishes to marry Odette to take over William's kingdom. Okay, so I'm going to speed through the next few parts. The movie then fast forwards a few weeks, months, years, I don't know. They're not specific on how long it's been. They just explain that Derek has searched everywhere and everyone else believes Odette is dead. Derek spends his time practicing hunting for the great animal, and they show this through a musical number, which is haha funny, but it doesn't really serve much to the story. Also, Queen Uberta plans a ball where Derek can choose a new potential bride to be out of many different princesses from all over the land. Meanwhile, Odette makes friends with a frog named Jean Bob and a turtle named Speed, then a puffin called Puffin. I personally don't care too much for the animal sidekicks in this movie. A lot of screen time they could have given to Odette and her character, they instead put onto these three animals. They're cute enough, I guess, but the fact Odette refers to them as her best friends in the whole world, does that mean she has no friends? Not even in her kingdom? Like, Derek has his best friend, Bromley, who was first shown in the This Is My Idea montage of Derek and Odette growing up. Why doesn't Odette have, like, a Bromley equivalent? And if she must have an animal sidekick, I don't understand why it has to be three male ones. At least make one of them a girl. Please. There's a distinct lack of female side characters in this movie, as all we have is Uberta and this character Bridget, which is the hag that follows Rothbart around, so we're doing great on that part. While Derek and Bromley are out hunting for the great animal, he spots Odette and mistakes her for the great animal. As he's been taught it's not what it seems, so he sees a swan and he thinks, oh, that must be the thing that I'm looking for. Like King Richard... Who's King Richard? In my notes, I wrote King Richard, but I mean King William. Hold on. He's told it's not what it seems, the great animal, that is, by King William. Whatever. Anyway, Odette escapes and Derek follows her to the lake where he sees her transform back into her human form just after aiming to shoot her. They then reunite, it's very cute, and you can see that they do love each other. That's nice. Funny how they never show them developing that feeling for each other. She tells him about the spell, so he tells her about the ball that his mother is putting on the next night. There he swears that he will make a vow of everlasting love in front of the whole world. This vow, he has to do this in order to break her spell. Rothbart turns up just as Derek runs off and gives Odette the bad news that there will be no moon tomorrow night, so she can't turn back into a human. He overheard their conversation, by the way. Because of this, he comes up with a plan where he disguises Bridget, his hag assistant, as Odette, and then she turns up at the ball. Derek professes his love to the wrong person. Odette then starts to die, so Derek has to go save her by defeating Rothbart as the great animal and professing his love to her again. This time, he says he loves her for something other than just her looks. Yay! There's so many context clues that you can almost turn into a romantic development, like in your brain. You just have to fill in the gaps during their years-long growing up montage at the beginning of the movie. Anyway, they live happily ever after, get married, and for some reason, Bridget is in their wedding, even though she pushes Bromley into a scary water dungeon and is involved in plans to kill Odette. Whatever. So that's the movie, incredibly roughly summarized. Now, before I go any further, I will say that I am aware of the many Swan Princess sequels that have somehow spawned since the original movie released. I haven't seen these sequels and don't wish to watch any of these sequel films, so for the sake of this project, I am choosing to ignore their existence. I'm using the first movie as the only canon, so I'm only referencing that in my rewrite. Okay, nice. On to the rewrite. Like I said before, my favourite part of Swan Princess is where they show Derek and Odette growing up together. You see Odette's personality shine through so much, and I wanted to continue to show that. I think the beginning of the story would basically be the same. Odette is born, and then I wrote Robert again. It's... in my script, I keep writing Robert, but I mean King William. Who is Robert? Anyway, Odette is born, and then King William and Queen Uberta decide, wouldn't it be nice if their kids got married to each other, but instead of a montage showing them meeting every summer, the movie actually takes time to show these moments. So instead of a montage, it's most of like the first part of like the film. So there's plenty of time to develop character and the feelings developing for both of them. I think eventually they do fall in love with each other after getting to know one another, but I think more importantly, there's a lesson for Derek to learn in this. I guess there kind of was a lesson for Derek in the original, but I think it should be a little bit more obvious. So Derek and Odette obviously start by butting heads. Odette is initially very polite and welcoming to becoming friends with Derek, but he's just kind of awful and rude, so she retaliates. You know the story. But in between these moments, I think there will be times where they learn a little bit more about each other. I think slowly they will develop feelings for one another. They realise they're both being put into this weird semi-arranged marriage, and so initially they don't want to follow their parents' orders, but I think it would come to a time where they meet as young adults and they both seem to be getting along, potentially in love at this point. Maybe they kiss privately. Then quickly after that, Derek announces that they're going to be wed. Odette is like, hold on, I just kissed you. It doesn't mean I want to marry you just yet. Why do you want to marry me? And then we get the classic, you're beautiful, what else is there moment, because that needs to stay. It's too iconic, it's too good. Odette, obviously peeved, leaves in a huff with her father, and Derek gets told off by Uberta and Rogers. Derek needs to learn from this point that he needs to respect Odette, and I think the time apart from her brings up his memories of the time he spent with her as they were children and teenagers, and the things that she did that made him actually fall in love with her. The fact that she's now beautiful was just the cherry on top for him, and that just made him realise that he had liked her this whole time. Okay, so I wanted Odette to keep a similar personality to what she is shown to have as a child. Smart and polite, yet vindictive. I think she's resourceful and intelligent and can find ways to get around Rothbart's schemes. She'd take the initiative to do things herself without animal sidekicks telling her what she should be doing. Design-wise, I used a lot of references from the Renaissance period for like the dress and the hairstyles. I kept that time period as a rough inspiration for all the other designs too, so you'll see a few similar design elements throughout. I kept the colour palette from all of her outfits in the movie, as I felt like they didn't really need to be changed very much. The final dress, I made a bit of a different colour. I made it an aqua-ish teal to mimic water, because I thought that looked kind of pretty. For Derek's designs, I wanted to give him some kind of variety, as in the movie, he seems to look exactly the same, but like different sizes during his upbringing. I thought that during their first initial meeting, Derek and Odette are at equal footing, both dislike one another and both want to get out of the situation they've been placed into. Then when they're preteens, Derek takes the upper hand by leaving Odette out of games with Bromley, like shown in the movie, but that changes once he's a teenager. Odette is suddenly confident, pretty, well put together, and he finds that intimidating. He can't seem to belittle her the way that he used to when he was younger, and she doesn't seem to care anymore. Odette now having the upper hand leaves Derek to become moody and bratty and having a stereotypical gloomy teenager phase. Acne and all, although I forgot to add the acne detail on my final design image. Maybe he just has clear skin that day. Another design aspect I wanted to keep in mind was Odette's necklace that Derek gifted her. I thought that she would wear it when they first meet as children as a sign of good faith. Maybe her father recommended she'd wear it or something. But after getting to know Derek and disliking him, she stops wearing it for a while. Then, as a teenager, she starts to feel more confident in herself again and sees through Derek's childish insecurity. She decides to wear it, as she now feels like she's starting to get to know the real him despite him being moody. I wanted to keep the necklace in the designs as it is a symbol of their relationship. I can't really touch on Odette and Derek's upbringing without bringing up Bromley somewhere. I didn't think he needed much of a design or rewriting, although I did a few little sketches. As he's already a decent enough character in my opinion, he's Derek's bumbling friend and I think he should stay relatively the same. Although I really want him to have more of a relationship with Odette, especially as she saw him almost as much as she saw Derek growing up. I think Bromley may be the first to have a soft spot for Odette. Maybe she was kind to him when him and Derek had a falling out or something, and he tries to subtly give Derek nudges that she's not as bad as they originally thought, but Bromley is weak-willed and still follows Derek's direction, so it's usually for naught. When Bromley is later captured by Rothbart, I think that he'd somehow realise the Swan he's trapped with is Odette. Maybe Rothbart just says it, or somehow he sees her transform before being trapped there. Either way, I think he'll have a heroic moment where he works with her to try to get both of them free, with humorous bonus of him not being able to understand her since she is a Swan. Now for Rothbart. I already really like his character, both design-wise and personality-wise. I like that he's unapologetically a bad guy and just really wants to rule over William's kingdom. I like to imagine he has some kind of vendetta against William. Maybe he used to work for him as a royal sorcerer or something and then got envious of his wealth and power, or maybe even fell in love with William's wife and tried to kill William out of jealousy. I did read about how in one of the Swan Princess sequels, Rothbart is revealed to be William's brother, but that adds a very strange energy to his relationship with Odette, which leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Like, he very obviously is trying to marry Odette. That's the whole reason he holds her captive. I don't think I have to tell you why that would be weird if Odette is his niece in that scenario. In the original ballet, Rothbart has a daughter called Odile that disguises as Odette, like how his assistant does for him in the film. I wanted to try and add Odile as a character somewhere in this rewrite concept, but wasn't sure how. I couldn't imagine this version of Rothbart with a daughter. So then I thought about what if there was another victim of the Swan spell who befriends Odette, then that made me think, why would she go ahead and betray Odette if she's also under the spell? So I thought maybe he has a Swan companion that's been by his side for years, and he looks after her, kind of like how Disney villains sometimes have equally sneaky animal sidekick. Odile could view Rothbart as nothing but kind, as he has been to her. He could be a big fan of animals, I don't know. Odile could make friends with Odette, like how Odette makes friends with Jean Bob, Speed, and Puffin, so Odile will replace them in some way, but maybe not all of them in this version. When Odile is transformed into a version of Odette and tasked to ruin Odette's spell, she retaliates. Maybe she warns Derek at the ball and could guide him to Odette. She may do the classic move of sacrificing herself by jumping in front of Rothbart, blasting a spell towards Derek, something like that. But if she survives, that she would end up living a life of luxury in the palace with Odette and Derek, which would be a nice end for her. But yes, that is just a small mini concept of an extra character, as I focus mainly on Derek and Odette's development. So yeah, these are my finished designs for Derek and Odette and some of the other characters. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, and if you're so inclined, to please subscribe. I haven't been on YouTube for a little bit. I had a little bit of a hiatus, and I'm trying to get back into the mindset of uploading and making videos again. So any support is very much appreciated. Next month is Art Fight, and if you would like to follow me on Art Fight, you can. My username is the same as it is on YouTube here, Feilu. Same goes with all my other social media. Hope you liked the video, and that's it. Bye!